Good morning, everyone. Can you all hear me? Honk if you can hear me. Okay, Paul and Mary can hear me. Anybody else? Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? In your cars, on your radios? Yes? I see some thumbs up. Happy Mother's Day. As you have noticed, probably by now, I am not my father. Unfortunately, he is homesick this morning. He is fighting the bronchitis and cough that he had a few weeks ago that has circled back around, and he is home resting. And we're trying to keep him out of this cold and wind. So this morning, you are stuck with me for the time being, and then you'll have my sister for a little while and my mom for a little while, and we're just going to make this a family event. Yay! Thank you for that, Miss Kenna. So I want to greet you this morning. I want to wish you a happy Mother's Day on behalf of myself and on behalf of my father. And you've all, I'm sure, heard this and seen this a million times by now, but we're going to read from Proverbs 31 this morning, starting at verse 25. It says, "She is clothed with strength and dignity. She laughs without fear of the future. When she speaks, her words are wise, and she gives instructions with kindness. She carefully watches everything in her household and suffers nothing from laziness. Her children stand and bless her. Her husband praises her. There are many virtuous and capable women in the world, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive and beauty does not last, but a woman who fears the Lord will be greatly praised. Reward her for all she has done. Let her deeds publicly declare her praise." Today we want to praise moms. Today we want to praise those women of God that have raised and are raising their children to serve Him, that set an example in their homes, whether good or bad sometimes. As we all know, we're not perfect. We thank God for you as mothers. We thank God for the work that you do in your homes. Father, I just pray your blessing on every mom that is here this morning and every mom that is in the sound of my voice. God, I pray that you would just uplift them, you would encourage them. Lord, you would remind them of the purpose you have called them to. Lord, and the power that is in them and the strength you have given them. Lord, I pray that you would just be with my dad this morning as he's recovering. Lord, that you would just touch his body. Lord, that you would touch every other person in our congregation this morning that is not feeling well, that has had poor test results, that has had illness in their family, that has had disappointing news. God, we ask that you would just be with them. Lord, you would ease any fear and any anxiety that would try to make its way in. And Lord, today we thank you for the gracious gift of our mothers that you have so richly blessed us with. In your name, amen. We're going to begin worship now. Please worship with us. Clap, honk your horns, shout. I know I won't really be able to hear you inside, but join us in spirit.
Good morning and God bless you, mothers. Give us a moment as we are switching over into worship, and join us as we celebrate with the one who gave us this gift, God the Father.
Okay. Let's worship him this morning. Let's have fun in his house and let's celebrate. voice inside your vehicle, inside your home, wherever you are right now. Thank Him for His goodness. Give Him some praise for the things that He has done in your life. He is a God who never fails. He is a God who always comes through. He is a God who always brings victory, regardless of how it looks around us. We praise you, Lord. We thank you for your goodness, God. We thank you for your favor. We thank you for your blessings. We thank you for your mercies, Lord. We thank you that you fight for us. We thank you that you are the warrior king. You're not afraid to pick up the sword. You're not afraid to charge into battle on behalf of your children. We thank you, Lord. We thank you. Oh, we worship you, God. We worship you. serve a God who will never fail. We're going to sing this last chorus. We worship you, God. Great is his faithfulness. His mercies are new every day. Great is your faithfulness. Sing that again. Great is your faithfulness. Great is your faithfulness. Great is your faithfulness, majesty, Holy One, King of Kings, God, you're faithful. Great is your faithfulness. Sing that again. Great is your Praise you, God. Lord, we thank you for your faithfulness. Lord, we just ask that you would be with us through the rest of this service. That you would bless Kate with boldness and confidence as she speaks the word you've given her. And that once again you would bless every mother. Lord, your word says that motherhood and children are a gift and a blessing from you. So, Lord, we pray that you would pour that blessing out this morning. We thank you, Lord. In your name, amen.
Good morning. You will see me in a matter of seconds. Good morning, everybody. Happy Mother's Day. You Yo, like, I am so happy Mother's Day, Mother. How are you? I am so blessed to be in the ranks of motherhood now. Like, I didn't know what I was missing. I didn't know why y'all were so happy and so giddy when you'd see your kids. I was like, yeah, they're nice. They're nice. And then I had my own, and I was like, oh my word, you smiled at me. It's so amazing. And I know that changes when they're teenagers, because when they're smiling, it usually means they're hiding something, or so I'm told. But we'll get there. We'll get there. So good morning. So we are talking about this morning A Mother Knows. So all of y'all who are in the Moms group, whether you are on Facebook Live or if you are in the text group, I want you to send a text message of one of your child's one of your child's favorite things to do. Show us what you know about your kids. All right? I got my phone out so I can see text messages coming in. So I hope your kids aren't shy, because I might read a few of their favorite things. So this morning, we are reading in 2 Kings, chapter 4, verses 25 and 37. Well, to 37. This is a story that I have read many times, and I've looked over it many times. But this time, when I was reading it, God pinpointed the mom. In the beginning of the story, we see a woman honoring the man of God, Elisha. Her name is never mentioned. We never know who her real identity is. We just know that she has no children. And she opens up her home, but more than opening up her home, she builds on another wing to her home. I'm getting some text messages. So she does this for the man of God, and then he comes to her and he says, what can we do for you? Let's make an exchange. You've given me something invaluable. Let me give something back to you. And she says, there's nothing. Then, my phone's still going. Then Gehazi goes to Elisha and he says, she has no son. Elisha immediately starts thinking, we gotta fix that. So he gives a prophecy. This time next year, you will be holding a child. And she looked at him and she said, don't get my hopes up. My husband is old. Don't get my hopes up. Please don't deceive me. And Elisha said, surely I say to you, this time next year you will be holding a child. So the child was born. And then life started happening. The child grew, and then an issue arose. As much as Jennifer's kids love to dance and sing, to worship and sing, as much as Natalie likes to paint, as much as Fabian likes football, this mother knew what her child needed, what her child desired, what her child needed of her. So the kid comes in and his head is hurting, and the mom immediately knows there's something wrong here. This isn't something that's just going to go away. So this is what she does, and this is 2 Kings 4, 25 through 37. As she approached the man of God of Mount Carmel, Elisha saw her in the distance. He said to Gehazi, look, the woman from Shunem is coming. Run out to meet her. Ask her if everything is all right. Are you and your husband and your child? Yes, the woman told Gehazi. Everything is fine. But when she came to the man of God at the mountain, she fell to the ground before him and caught hold of his feet. Gehazi began to push her away. But the man of God said, leave her alone. She is deeply troubled. But the Lord has not told me yet. Then she said, did I ask you for a son, my Lord? How many have had surprise children? I was one of those children. All right. Did I ask you for a son, my Lord? And didn't I say, don't deceive me, don't get my hopes up? Then Elisha said to Gehazi, "Get ready to travel, take my staff and go. Don't talk to anyone along the way. Go quickly and lay the staff on the boy's body." And she said, "Not good enough." We've all been to the hospital with our children. I've already been to the hospital with my child. And when the doctor says a certain thing that I don't think is enough, that sentence comes out of my mouth, "Not good enough." And I'm sure it's come out of other moms' mouths along the way as well. So she told him, "I will not leave unless you come with me." When Elisha arrived, the child was indeed dead. The staff didn't work. Gehazi ran ahead of them and put the staff over the child's face and body, and it didn't work. The mother knew that she was going to need more than a staff. When Elisha arrived, the child was indeed dead, lying there on the prophet's bed. Verse 33. He went in alone and shut the door behind him and prayed to the Lord. Then he laid down on the child's body, placing his mouth over the child's mouth, his hands on the child's hands, and as he stretched out on him, the child began to grow warm again. Elisha got up, walked back and forth across the room once, and then stretched himself out again, and the child, this time the boy, sneezed 7 times and opened his eyes. Then Elisha summoned Gehazi. "Call the child's mother," he said. And when she came in, Elisha said, "Here, take your son." And she fell at his feet and bowed before him, overwhelmed with gratitude. Then she took her son in her arms and left. Before becoming a mom, a woman can just be a woman. She can just be who she is. She can be as unique can be, and don't get me wrong, moms are unique, but we all have to take on some traits after the word mother is attached to our name. A mother, when she becomes a mother, becomes a caregiver, a nurse, a doctor, a storyteller, a dream maker, a home builder, a teacher, an advisor, a counselor, a comforter, and a compass to God. When a woman becomes a caregiver, God grants wisdom to a mother that not all women can possess. We know our kids, don't we? We know them. We know what they need. And the wisdom changes depending on the child. When an infant is born, the cry is unique, and the mother begins to learn the sounds. They can distinguish between their baby crying and another woman's child crying. It is a part of our DNA. And then it goes a little bit further. As time progresses, a mom can hear her baby's cry, and she knows if that baby is hungry, if they need a diaper change, if they need to burp, if they're tired, if they need affection, love. A mother just knows. A mother's instincts are powerful. And in this way, a mom shares one of the attributes of God. God can hear his name 1,000 times a day. He can hear Jesus 1,000 times a day, and he'll hear it 1,000 different ways. Even just that one word, Jesus, I need help. Jesus, I don't know what to do. Jesus, praise you, God. He can tell the difference between each syllable. Same cry. Your infant cries the same cry, but you know that the same cry means different things. Just like God can hear Jesus 1,000 times a day, same cry, but he knows it means different things depending on what's going on in your life, how it rolls off your tongue. He knows. And the cry doesn't just get heard. Like a baby crying, it ushers God to your side. If my son begins to cry, I am ushered to his side. The moment we say Jesus, God is ushered to our side. We begin to pull on his heartstrings. So, on the farm growing up, there's many different stories about on the farm. But one particular day, and I know my father's watching, and I'm not trying to say he messed up, okay? Really great father, but I was helping him one day in the barn, and I ended up falling off the back of a truck. He tried to catch me, he really did. That's why I said he's not a bad father. He tried to catch me, just gravity was quicker than he was. And There was no bruises on me. My arm was a little red and it hurt a lot, but it didn't look like anything was wrong besides that. So my dad told me, he says, you're fine, let's continue working. And then I told him, I was like, look, it really hurts, can I go take something? So he said, yeah. He said, go take something. Sorry, he just sent me a message. He said, go take something. And so I went up to the house and Mom looked over my arm. And she said, something's not right. And I believed him. I thought, yeah, it's just a little bump. It's fine. And I didn't think anything was wrong because he didn't think anything was wrong. We fall all the time. I've fallen from higher things than the back of a truck and came out unscathed. But my mom knew something was wrong. So we went to the emergency room, and sure enough, I had broken my arm. It's a great memory. And this part, Mom probably should have let Dad do, but she decided to take it upon herself and try to drive me to get a cast. She knew that I had broken my arm, but she probably should have let Dad drive, because y'all know how my mother's directional abilities are. So we got lost many times along the way, but she was being my caregiver, even when I didn't know what I needed. I thought that I was okay. My father thought that I was okay. But even when I didn't know what I needed, she knew the help that I needed, just like this woman in 2 Kings. The child didn't know what he needed, but the mother knew who she needed. So even when we don't know what we need, God arrives to fill it. Caregiver is an attribute of God. When a woman becomes a mom, she becomes a nurse and a doctor. I know this because my son decided to split his eyebrow open a couple weeks ago. And that was another instance where gravity was faster than the parent. So mothers take care of scraped knees, sick tummies, headaches, broken bones, and crying eyes. A mother can fix it all. Even when we can't fix it all, in our children's heads we can. And that's enough. Sometimes a look is enough to say everything will be okay. She can chase away the fears from miles away, which is another God attribute. In Jeremiah 33:6 we see, behold, I will bring it health and healing. I will heal them and reveal to them the abundance of peace and truth. God is changing the way that I view the Bible, and he's connecting it to different points within my life. When I went to Bible college, I, for the first time, had poison ivy. I grew up on a farm. I walked through the woods. I collected bones in the woods with my brother. I had never once gotten poison ivy, and then the moment that I'm away from home, I am hundreds of miles away, I get poison ivy for the first time, and the first person I call is my mother. And I'm sobbing, I don't know what's wrong with me, I need to go to the hospital, what do I do? And she was able to calm me down enough that I was able to get the help that I needed. I was able to contact the right people. A mother's love echoes these words. God was speaking to the children of Israel, yet these words have been spoken throughout years in many different ways. Let me kiss it and make it better. That sentence is magic to a child. You go to any toddler when they're hurt, if you're their mother, and you say, can I kiss it and make it better? Tears can stop. Their finger could be bleeding, but the moment you kiss it, it's like, oh, okay, mom kissed it, everything's going to be okay now. Everything's going to be fine. That sentence, that action is miraculous to a toddler. As kids grow up and become teenagers, the sentence changes, but it still means the same thing. Let me hold you. You look like you're hurting. Let me just hold you. And security is given. Sorry, I can see different moms rubbing their children and stuff, so if you see me laugh, that's what I'm seeing. When adulthood sets in, the sentence changes again, but it still holds the same impact. I know what you're going through. I've been there. Let me pray for you and let me love you. And all of a sudden, it's, all right, It doesn't look exactly like the words God spoke to Israel, but the outcome is the same. God promised healing and peace if Israel would turn to him, and the same goes to our mothers. When we turn to our mothers, peace comes. Healing comes. A broken heart from a breakup can mend by the embrace of a mother. A scraped knee can mend from the kiss of a mother. A disobedient child, frustrating a mother, can call her mother and say, "What do I do?" And all of a sudden, peace is ushered in by the mother. Another thing that mothers are storytellers. When I was in the NICU with my son, I brought many different books in. Some were chapter books, and I would sit there and I would read out loud to him. Sometimes I would take stories from the Bible and I would sit there and tell him about the great men of old, about Nehemiah who rebuilt the walls of Israel, Jerusalem, about David who slayed Goliath, about Gideon, the fearful man that God used, about Jonah, Noah, Moses who parted the Red Sea. We start telling our children stories almost instantly. We tell them of who they'll become, what we want to see in their lives, the characters that we want to see them emulate. I think emulate is the right word, where they try to take some of their morality, they take some of their generosity, and they attribute it to themselves, and they start to learn in it. One of my favorite authors that I read to Nathan is Max Lucado. He shows the character of God in such a way that I want my son to learn it. He shows God as caring, compassionate, loving, forgiving, generous. And those are things that I want my son to look to his God and say, "You know what, I can trust you because you are all of these things." My mother has told me, my father has told me. There's another book I read to him, it's called The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. And it's about being generous, giving of yourself, and the reward that comes from it. When one is kind, the kind of reward that you get. These are things that I want to build within him. And I'm not the only one who has used this trick as a mom, but also God has used this. We follow the example of Christ in telling our children stories of things that we want them to become or add to who they are. In Luke 18:1, we see, one day Jesus told his disciples a story to show that they should always pray and never give up. The power of stories is shown throughout history. Esther, Queen Esther, told stories to Xerxes. She became his queen. Nathan told a story to David to bring correction, and it softened David's response. Shahrazadi with the king, you'll know it as 1001 Arabian Nights. 1001 stories saved this woman's life, because by the time she was done, the king had fallen in love with her. Stories are powerful. Stories have been used during war. They lift the spirit of soldiers. They have saved lives, they've changed thinking, they are able to take hard truth and make it easy to swallow. And stories stick. How many have told their child something, you don't do this, and it's a lecture format, and how many hours does that stay within a child's mind? Ha, okay, I heard you, I heard the laugh. Where a lecture fails, a story will prevail. Stories stick within our children's minds. They don't leave. I don't know what the difference is between a lecture and a story, but they don't leave. They stay for years. Another thing that a mother is, or becomes, is a dream maker. Mothers have the ability to take what their child's dreams and make it a reality. They work hard to cultivate their children so they never stop dreaming. As Nathan begins to grow, as I'm sure many of you are with your children, you want to cultivate a world of imagination. You want to teach them that they can conquer, that they can reign in their own imaginations, in their dreams. When we cultivate a child's imagination, we cultivate a light within them. A child without an imagination can fall into depression really quickly. They don't know how to dream. They don't know how to be more than what they are. And an imagination can teach them how to problem solve later in life. I want him to paint worlds within his mind. I want him to rule a kingdom of his own design. When imagination dies, our children lose their light. But when us mothers step in to till the garden of the mind, we are ushering life into our children's lives. Genesis 37 holds the story of a dreamer. Joseph had many dreams. God had given him many things that he wanted to see fulfilled in Joseph's life. He wanted to see Joseph put into a position where he could save nations, that he could save his family, that he could save. The path was a little bumpy. And none of us desire our children to go down a bumpy road, but God uses the unconventional ways to achieve his plan. And by Joseph daring to dream, the 12 tribes of Israel were born. A nation was born from one man daring to dream. So what can your child accomplish through a dream? As mothers, we cultivate this within our children because we see the outcome. We see the outcome. We see the power of their mind. A mother is a home builder. As mothers, we want our child's soil to be fruitful for growth, so we work the ground within our own home. We make sure they have a peaceful environment to grow in, clothes on their backs, food in their stomachs, a freedom to learn and imagine, health to keep them, and a loving hand to guide them. Home is also where they learn how to function socially, whether it's good or bad. They learn how to fight in the home. They learn how to resolve conflict. They learn how to handle things that aren't comfortable in the home. Either a home can make the children want to stay within the safety of the walls, or it's too chaotic so they want to be elsewhere. But it starts in the home. In Proverbs 24, 3-4, we read, "By wisdom a house is built, and by understanding it is established. By knowledge the rooms are filled with love and with all precious and pleasant riches." To build a home, we need wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. With these three, the precious riches of love will fill every room. I'm rushing along now because I'm running out of time. A mom is a teacher and a compass to God. As our children grow, different lessons are needed. One lesson that my husband and I are working on with Nathan right now is the lesson of no means no. And it's fun. It's fun. My greatest reaction that I have gotten from him when I've said no. For a while it was crying, throwing himself on the ground, kicking his feet, throwing an outright tantrum. And I was always worried that he was going to hurt himself, but he survived. So, but then something flipped in him, and it changed to not, I'm going to throw a tantrum, but okay, I got to get out of here. Where can I get to? Where can I go? I just got to get out of here. She said no, and I don't want to get my butt whooped, so where can I go? And he'll start frantically searching around. And as parents, we see the different stages. We experience the different life lessons that our children need. And the Bible tells us, he says, train up a child in the way that he should go, teaching him to seek God's wisdom and will for his abilities and talents. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. As we are teaching our kids, we need to point them towards God. We need to be that compass, that plumb line, that direct link, teaching them who God is and what God is to them. Because they cannot go on just their parents' faith. Lastly, a mother is an advisor and a counselor and a comforter. We handle many questions throughout the day. We see many life lessons that are hard for our children to handle. And in those moments, I know with my own mom, who I think is signaling me that I have run out of time, that they need somebody to advise them. When life gets hard, a mother's arms are welcoming. A mother's words are needed. A mother can guide in ways that the world can't guide us. Just like our Father does, just like God does. When life gets hard, we run into the Father's arms and comfort is offered. Advice is offered. Counseling is offered. In Genesis, we see a phrase used when Eve is presented to Adam, that she will be a comforter to you. The same goes into motherhood. When our children need us, it's very easy to drop everything and run to their aid, to comfort, to counsel, to advise. And through all of this, God has spoken one line. He says, throughout the whole Bible, this is the one truth that God continuously speaks. He says, you teach them to seek God and what He has to offer, and you hand them their dreams. When we teach our children, when we advise them towards God, even through the hard times, even through pain, agony, us as mothers, we're not always going to be here. One day, my son is going to have to do life without his mother. One day, your children are going to have to do life without you, and they need to be able to rely on the God that you have pointed them to be their comforter, counselor, and advisor. So by doing this, by teaching them this, we are teaching them not only to capture their dreams, but to succeed in life. So I applaud you, mothers, because you've got a long road ahead of you, but you have many tools that God has given you. And I look forward to continuing my walk through motherhood with you as the days and the years pass. God bless you and have an amazing Mother's Day. And I pray that you grow in the grace and love that God has given to each of you for each of your children. God bless you.
Don't you run off. I'm not done yet, ladies. It's good to see you all here. It's nice to see faces. We have been missing our church family. So I'm going to challenge you next Sunday, let's have a coming home party and have everyone that calls this their church show up in our parking lot for church. It would be so blessed on our lives to see all of our church family together. Even if you are in your cars, it would still be a wonderful time of homecoming to worship together with everyone present to serve God. Okay, so mamas, we all have our stories about children. We all have our things that have happened that are funny in our lives growing up and all of that. We make memories through laughter. We make memories through the things that we do with our children. And we also build character and godliness in them as they grow. This morning I found this and I thought it was really appropriate for today. It's called, Have You Ever Noticed How Men Are Always Going to the Mountain? Okay. Have you ever noticed how in Scripture men are always going up into the mountains to commune with the Lord? Yet in the Scriptures we hardly ever hear of women going to the mountains. I'm not a mountain person, but we know why, right? Because the women were too busy keeping life going. They couldn't abandon their babies. They couldn't stop preparing meals. They had to clean their homes. They had to keep the fires going. They had to plant the gardens and harvest the food, and 1,000 responsibilities that keep us from being able to climb the mountain. I was talking to a friend the other day saying that as modern women, I feel like I'm never free enough from my responsibilities, never in a quiet enough space that I want to have with God. Her response floored me. Listen, ladies, I want to encourage you today. That is why God comes to women. Sorry. That is why God comes to women. Men have to climb the mountain to meet God, but God comes to women wherever they are. If you look through scriptures, you're going to see that many times God came to women. God does indeed come to us where we are, when we are doing their ordinary work and everyday life. He meets us at the well where we draw water for our families. He meets us in our homes where we are preparing for guests and taking care of our children and our husbands. He meets us in our kitchens where he provides the groceries that we need to provide food for our family. He meets us in our gardens as we commune with him and thankfulness for what he is about to provide. He comes to them as they sit beside the sick beds. I'm going to change my page. He comes to us as we sit beside the sick beds. As we give birth, as we care for our elderly, as we love our parents at the end of life, and perform necessary mourning and burial rites. Even at the empty tomb, Mary was the first to witness Christ's resurrection. She was there because she was doing the womanly chore of properly preparing Christ's body for burial. In these seemingly mundane and ordinary tasks, women of scriptures found themselves face to face with the divine. So if, like me, you ever start to bemoan the fact you don't have as much time to spend in the mountain with God as you would like, remember, God comes to us. He knows where we are and the burdens we carry. He sees us, and if we open our eyes and hearts, we can see him, even in the most ordinary places, doing the most ordinary things. Ladies, God sees you. Mamas, God sees you as you're taking on more jobs than you had before, with children not going to school and you becoming their school. God sees you when you're crying at night because the whole day has felt like you just could not find peace in your home. God sees you when you go to bed and you lay your head down at night and you're exhausted because of all that was expected of you through the day. God sees you wherever he has placed you. So turn to him today. Find comfort in him. Find joy in him. Find peace in him. And remember, they do grow up someday and become like mine, which is wonderful. God has blessed us with wonderful, wonderful children. And you know, you pour into them, and when they reach this age, they pour into you. My children are all a blessing in my life in different ways, but they all pour into me, and I feel very blessed to have been allowed to be their mom. Beep, beep. Okay. Courtney is going to share a song as we end today. God bless. Have a great day in the Lord and with your babies. The offering basket is here for you to give if you want to on the way out. God bless you.
melody.